Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Listen and grow as Del questions the status quo, encourages you to think differently, and empowers you to make a better life. Get ready as Del challenges core beliefs, seeks the truth, and reveals the roadmap to the lifestyle you really want. And now your host, multi-millionaire, national award-winning investor, CEO and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, Del Walmsley.
Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Today, my friends, is Tell Del Tuesday, and we have a family here today that have really taken off in the industry. Started back in 2016 and just decided to go crazy from there. So without further ado, let's get Candida and Matt Wolfram on the show. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Del.
Hi, Del. How are you?
Very good. Very good. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Doing great.
Matt, you sound like you're asleep, man. Did I wake you up?
No.
Yeah, he sounds echoey, yeah.
That's just me normally. I'm kind of a mellow, low-key kind of guy.
You're the low-key guy, huh? All right. Well, since you went out here and did all this non-low-key stuff, I guess who do we talk to first? Let's talk about you both were successful, had good jobs, typical, middle American family that is very successful, got it all going for you. What made you decide to look into doing something a little more and growing and eventually retiring at a very early age?
Yeah, so that's actually an interesting story, though. We have good friends, Eric and Amy Johnson, who have been members of Lifestyles Unlimited since 2009, if memory doesn't fail. And he had been investing in single-family and multifamily for a while, and we were hardcore stock market investors. Both Matt and I had good jobs in oil and gas. 2 W-2s, and so the consequences of that. And so, frankly, I was sick of paying taxes. Every April 15th, I just dreaded tax season. And I think it was an Easter party, and we were talking to Eric, and I just cornered him, and I said, okay, so tell me about this real estate investment. So that's when we started talking much more seriously about lifestyles, and he was telling me about his journey. But during the conversation, I think he told us probably 6 or 8 times, go do the 2-day workshop, so the financial freedom seminar. So go to the 2-day, So we did, but I think that we leveraged Eric and Amy's already successful experience with Lifestyles Unlimited. He is an engineer, so he's very numbers focused, and because when you walk into something like Lifestyles Unlimited, I think that it crosses everybody's mind, like, is this a pyramid scheme, right? It sounds too good to be true. But given that we had a trusted friend who was already involved for many years and getting, at the time, checks in the mail, he started sending me pictures of the checks that he was getting. So that's how we got to it. It was really an effort to combat some of the taxes that we were paying every tax season.
Yeah, that's pretty appropriate since we just went through tax season, huh?
I was driving thinking, remember when I used to dread tax season, and now I love it. It's like, hey, bring it on. So yeah, it's all good.
It's an interesting point I'm going to ask you, just because of the rest of the people out there that haven't done what you've done. I believe, that's just a personal belief, that 99% of the people out there don't have any idea how much taxes they're paying because they take it out of your check every single paycheck. You don't really look at that paycheck each time and go, oh my God, look at how much they took out. You really just don't pay attention. You go, this is how much I get. I know how much I get. At the end of the year, you do your tax return, and then maybe you look at the total number and see what it means. Is that kind of the way it really works, or did you actually look at your paycheck and curse your paycheck each week?
Oh, no. I was painfully aware of the amounts withdrawn from both Matt and I's paychecks, and then compounded by the, often 5-digit figure that we had to write on top of what had already been withdrawn throughout the year. So yes, the pain did not go unnoticed throughout the year. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, I'm just doing this for everybody else's benefit, Candida. What you're saying is that because each of you were highly paid, highly compensated, however you say that, you were taking out taxes at a rate that you would have to have paid if you made what you made, and he had to pay what he made. They take out what those dollar amounts would be. But when you combine the two, it puts you in a higher tax bracket, which meant you had to come back and write a check. Am I getting that close to right there?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's painful.
Yep.
That's real painful. It's almost like you go, why? Why even bother, right? It's an amazing thing.
I think since we've joined Lifestyles Unlimited, I think that the shoe dropped when, we say that W-2 workers, so, usual, employees of a company pay the brunt of the taxes. That is undoubtedly what happens in this country.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. All right, so let's talk about your friends told you about it. You were interested. You thought it was a Ponzi scheme, like many people do. What was your first introduction to it? What kind of program or meeting did you go to?
Went to so unlike Eric. So Eric listened to the radio show for a long time, but we hadn't. So the first exposure was there was an introductory workshop. I think it was like a 90-minute seminar. So I did that. Our kids at the time were relatively young, so Matt and I couldn't quite be joined at the hip and all these things. Then I did the 2-day, and then joined as preferred investors right then. And then the following month, Matt came back and he did the 2-day. And since then, our kids have done the 2-day seminar. They invest in, they are little bit investors in houses and apartments. So, yeah. But
that's
the
interesting.
2-day was really kind of the most significant, I think, event. Yeah.
How old are the children now?
So Brooke is 19 and Ryan is 16.
And did you send them to the 2-day also?
They did. They did the 2-day. They've gone to portions of Expo, so the annual Expo that we have with Lifestyles Unlimited. They've attended that. They hear us talking about real estate investments, and I think that's one of the biggest differences for me is when I grew up, what I knew was go to school, go to college, get a good job, then retire and hope to die before you run out of money. And the concept of changing that mountain of money that you need to retire into, you really need streams of income or cash flow coming in every month. It's really pivotal. And so I'm happy that we are having the opportunity to educate our kids a little bit different.
What was your aha moment? What, clicked and said, boom, that's it. That's what we need.
The idea of multifamily investments and how the value can grow was really, for me, was the most, it was the most impressive thing that I saw in the 2-day. We had capital to invest, so we actually started as multifamily investors. But the concept that by growing NOI, or net operating income, so you grow income, you reduce expenses, or sometimes you increase expenses, but regardless, and then you have the opportunity to multiply your capital over a few years' time was really the most powerful thing.
Let's talk about how quickly you guys came out of the blocks. Whose fault was that? I mean, my God! And tell everybody about that. What you did right out of the blocks there.
Do you want to take this, Matt?
Sure. So when we came out of that, obviously the first question is, how effective does this really work? So we started roughly, for us, we started slow, and we targeted passive multifamily at first, and we put in, and we went out and we got on as many lists as we could and started evaluating deals that came across and found 3 of them in a pretty short order. I think it was 30 to 60 days. And we invested in those 3 deals. And then we kind of, took a step back and said, okay, let's verify. Let's make sure this whole thing works. So you fast forward that a few months down the road when those deals started cash flowing again, and we saw the returns coming in and said, hey, this really does work. And then Candida sat down and did the math in her head and said, okay, based on this, if we continue passively investing, you could retire. We could get you out of your job in, I don't remember what it was, probably 2 years, give or take. But if instead of just continuing down multifamily, if we look at single family, which cash flows immediately, we only need to buy 5 or 6 houses and we can get you out of your job. So that's exactly what we did. At that point, we pulled the trigger, went out and we started with 5 houses and then added on 6, 7, 8 after that, to where 11 months after we joined Lifestyles, we replaced my W-2 income and I was able to walk away from corporate life.
That's amazing, isn't it? It's that simple, that effective, that anybody could do it, and you did it, and just did it. That's all it took was just to say, okay, we're going to do it, and boom. I mean, do you ever how old were you when you retired?
I was 40.
Gosh, can you even imagine ever in your life thinking you were going to retire at 40?
No, not realistically. No. I mean, you may start out your career with that kind of a goal. But it's not something that when you actually get into it and start doing the math on it, it really is a daunting task. That's
amazing. So I've got 2 different paths I want to go down, but I'm going to go down the fun one first. So when you quit your job, Matt, what did the people you're working with say? I mean, you got a highly compensated position. They got to have lost their mind when you told them you're just going to retire at 40.
Yeah, most of them couldn't really believe it, and it was kind of a shock for a lot of them. But I gave them plenty of notice. I did all the I was professional about it, and said, look, I'm under no time crunch to leave, so I worked. I think I gave them about 3 or 4 weeks that I worked, and hung around a couple weeks after to consult, and turnover was great, so they were fine with it from that standpoint. But I don't know that any of them really believed that I would stay out and not come back. But here we are. We get now 5 years later, and absolutely no intention of going back.
All right, so we've got these houses. They gave you the base income you needed. You had these passive deals you got into. You've got around 3,500 units in total right now, since I didn't tell anybody that from the beginning of the show. So you've done quite a bit in a very short period of time. When we come back, I want to talk about you deciding to change. I mean, you went single family, you went passive, then you decided to go ahead and get into multifamily as an IRO or a lead, one of the two. I can't remember which one it was here. But we want to talk about that when we come back from a break. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back with Candida and Matt Wolfram and the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
Teaching you with a roadmap to creating the lifestyle you really want. Keep listening. The Del Walmsley Radio Show returns in moments.
Well, one thing it has meant for us, and we have to compliment you, you've given us our time back. And I say our time because we got married 33 years ago, and we got married in July. Do you know why? Well, that was before I met Lifestyles. I used to work for Ford Motor Company. And with Ford Motor Company, I was in the automotive division. They have shut down during July, the first 2 weeks of July.
So you had to wait for a shutdown to get married?
Yes.
Yes, he actually.
Whoa, that's dedication there.
He made me change our wedding date. It was supposed to be June 15th, and I changed.
Wow. That's amazing.
So if I had been in Lifestyle, I could have gotten married when I wanted to.
And the ring would have been bigger.
Thank you.
Ready to get your time back like Vivian and Cornell? Register for the free online workshop at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
You're hearing the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Want more life-changing knowledge? Access our podcast and listen on demand at lifestylesunlimited.com under the radio tab. Now your host, Del Walmsley.
Welcome back to Del Walmsley Radio Show. With me here today on Tell Del Tuesday is Candida and Matt Wolfram out of Houston, Texas. Their story begins with them in 2016 having some friends send them by. They jump in, they get excited, they go out and buy themselves some passive income, and then they come to the realization that if they buy some single-family houses, about 5 of them, they could retire Matt and get him out. They went all the way to 8 houses and got him out, and so he's been retired at about 40 years of age. And they've still got Candida working, and we're getting into the story now where we want to find out. And really, guys, I like the fly on the wall kind of conversations, husband and wife sitting at the kitchen table or sitting in bed at night talking, saying, we've done this and we've done this. What made you decide you needed to move on and actually become real estate investors, active investors in multifamily investments?
So Del, I think it's kind of a twofold thing. So, we were sitting there, I'd retired, and we continued to invest in passive multifamily deals. And I think, over the next few years, we got up to, we ended up investing, I think, in 21 deals total. A few of those have sold off. So, we've got a whole bunch of passive deals invested, and we're doing really well with them. Candida is still working, but she was basically working to become pension eligible, which that happened a couple of years ago, and she had the opportunity then to exit, and she's also now retired as well. And none of this could have been possible without all the passive income and other real estate investments. So that's phenomenal. And then we're sitting there saying, okay, we've done very well with this, but we're still both relatively young, and we need a challenge. We need something to do. We need something to look forward to. And what excites us at this point really is real estate. And Candida was kind of the driving force behind that. And she's like, let's go buy an apartment. So we start looking for apartments. We start looking in Houston. We spent a little bit of time doing that, not having a whole lot of success. And then you guys decided that you're going to open a brokerage in Tennessee. And that was just perfect timing. I'm from Knoxville. That's home to me. I've got family there. I've got family who is, interested in real estate and actually in lifestyles. And so we start working with your brokers up there, and we find a deal that is in my hometown of Knoxville and relatively close to where I grew up, and it just made sense. So we jumped on that, brought in friends, family, people that we coworkers that we brought in from lifestyles. We had a core group of people that were looking to invest with us once they knew we were going down this path. And it was a real, everything just kind of fell together to make that happen. It was a really good deal for everybody.
When you are a successful individual, educated, have business experience, and you're 40 years of age and you have nothing to do, it kind of leaves a void, doesn't it?
Yeah, you got to have something to fill the day. I mean, you got kids, but obviously our kids are getting older now, and as they get older, they move on, move out, and have their own life and independence. So yeah, you do definitely have a void that needs to be filled, and you can't just you can't do nothing. You got to find something to keep you energized and keep you engaged.
So tell us about this first deal. Give us the inside skinny on that. How did it work out? You bought it. I mean, that's, an out-of-town purchase, but you had family members there. Tell us how this all worked out and what kind of money you made on this deal.
So it's a 39 unit. Well, we bought it as a 38, but they had an office that we converted into a 39 unit as we don't need an office on site. So it's a 39 unit property in Knoxville. The exteriors on it were pretty fine. There wasn't a lot of exterior work that needed to be done, but it was built in 1972, and some of the units hadn't been touched since 1972. I mean, we're talking vintage, like yellow appliances. I mean, things that you just don't, yellow sinks in all the units. I mean, it's some fantastic stuff from a walk down memory lane. So there's a lot of interior work that needed to be done. We saw an opportunity with below market rents on almost all the units that we could come in, upgrade the interiors, bring it up to current modern standards, and really have an opportunity to make some pretty good money on it.
Boy, I tell you what, that brings back memories, man. I started back in the 70s, 60s and 70s stuff. So you were talking about baby runs yellow appliances and avocado green appliances and baby poo-poo brown appliances. Remember all those different colors they had? And what was weird is some places mixed them. That was even worse.
Well, we didn't get any mixes, but yeah, those are the exact color schemes and color palettes that were running through some of these units. So
that's hilarious.
It was definitely something that just jumped out and said, this is an opportunity.
No doubt. I remember back then, guys, an upgrade was to go to white. Can you imagine that?
Right. And
that was an upgrade.
The previous operator of this property, actually, he had done a good enough job with some of the kitchen cabinets. They were like updated colors. The cabinet looks pretty, and lo and behold, the appliances were exactly the yellow, including the sink, including the sink with original fixtures. And I mean, it was just like patchwork quilt of like, okay. I mean, it was functional, but certainly not something that would be
Well, they used to mix
to.
the colors of the sinks and the toilets and the tile and the backsplash of the tub, if you got any of that in there too. So good old 70s construction, man. Well, that's great. That's a lot of opportunity. How did it turn out for you?
So we're about 6 months into it. So we're still kind of in the phase of getting things to where we want them to be. So we're not quite done with it. But in the 6 months that we've had it, we've been able to take our overall average rents up by over $100 a unit. And we're about halfway to where we want to get. So there's still another $100 out there we think we can get, and we'll continue to work to rehab units and push those rents back up to where they need to be, where the market is for the area and for the product that we have.
Yeah, and I believe that the rents that where we are right now are all above year one pro forma, if memory doesn't fail, Matt. Is that right?
Yeah, for anything that any unit that we rehab, we're able to charge rents above pro forma.
What is your perspective as members on the fact that we're now nationwide and we're buying real estate all over the country? Do you have any input into that and insight?
I love it. I think it's fantastic. There are opportunities out there in lots of areas and lots of places, and I don't see any reason not to be national. I mean, it's about finding the right deal, and it may not be a deal that you can find and source and execute on, but somebody else can. And as a passive investor, I'm all aboard. I love the fact that you're pushing it national, and giving us access to more and more prospective deals and opportunities.
I think it does come with a couple of caveats, though. I mean, the reason we went to Knoxville is we didn't just throw a dart on the wall and said, let's go to Tennessee. Number one, this is literally in Matt's backyard. I mean, his sister lives a mile from the property, and she's an investor there. His mom lives a couple of miles. I mean, so this is an area that he is extremely familiar with. Not only that, the fact that Lifestyles Unlimited now has a realty in Tennessee has been extremely helpful in terms of helping us find the right vendors and the right property management team. I mean, this is not something that we could have just gone to Kansas City to do that we know nothing about. So it does, like I said, it does come with a couple of caveats that I think that both as a lead and a passive, you need to be aware as you grow and you kind of move out of our backyard here. So.
Okay.
In Houston, by the way, here being in Houston, yeah.
Now, are you guys ambassadors, or have you ever thought about being ambassadors? Do you know ambassadors? What's your connection to ambassadors in that part of the country?
Yeah, so I know the Ambassadors Network relatively well, although I know Lee Reeves. He lives right there in Franklin. I don't know exactly who's the ambassador for Tennessee. Maybe Lee is the right person. I mean, I thought about it, but because we are Houston-based, I don't know that there's a huge need to be an ambassador in Houston, but yeah.
Yeah, so you don't need an actual ambassador. You've got live events every week or every month or whatever there, so... no problem. Let's talk now about what you've done with your life, Candida, because it sounds like Matt is really into the apartment complex, deep daily activity type thing. What about yourself? What are you doing since you've got out of work, retired?
Yes. So Matt has had the benefit of being home for the last, almost 7 years now. And I retired, I guess it's going to be 2 years this summer. With the kids in high school, I've been involved on a couple of nonprofit board of directors related to their activities. So it gave me the opportunity to help Brooke through her senior year in college selections and moving in and all that entails that. Frankly, if I had an 8 to 5 job, that would have been very, very difficult. Our son, Ryan, plays in the marching band, and so lots of band activities during the fall and spring. And so being there and being able to volunteer and be close to them before they flee the nest, if you will, and move out and go to college and so forth. I mean, this time, I can't say enough about how invaluable buying our time has been from that perspective. I think even more so at this age than when they were very, very young. They need a lot of help in high school just to kind of navigate kind of this quasi-adult world. And it's been, having Matt and I here supporting, being present, has been fantastic. So
your parents are from Brazil. Do they still live there?
They do. As a matter of fact, so here's the other fun fact. Brooke's classes end on May 9th, and then she and I will spend 3 weeks with my family in Brazil. I haven't been since before COVID, and it's my mom's 80th birthday. Unfortunately, Ryan still has finals in high school, so he has to stay behind with Matt. But she and I will spend 3 weeks in Brazil, and then after that, we'll turn around, stay home for 24 hours, and we leave on a 2-week vacation. So that's about how life goes these days.
Being an internationally ignorant human being that I am, not understanding all cultures from all countries and everything, would they, living in that country and what they grew up as, would they look at what you're doing now as amazing?
So, interestingly enough, initially yes, but interestingly enough, they own property. I mean, my mom has owned property. My brother, without the benefit of having been educated, but my brother works about 2 hours from his house, and he says, I don't want to be commuting every day. And so he bought an investment property closer to his job, and then he has roommates. So basically he's living, with other people Monday through Friday kind of thing. He has roommates that are paying his bills. And then he decided, I don't want to have roommates anymore. I'm still going to own that one. I'm going to rent it out, and I'm going to buy another one. I mean, so, yeah. So, yeah.
Yes, that's great. How about you, Matt? What's your family background? What do they think about you doing all this?
Well, from a growing up perspective, it would have been a little odd, I guess. My grandparents were entrepreneurs. They own their own business. But outside of that, my family's been very much W2. Since we've done all of our lifestyles journey. My dad has joined. He's an investor with us on our apartment deal. My sister has also joined, and she's an investor on our apartment deal with us. She also has a single family house. So they've kind of followed the path that we've led here a bit, and are definitely seeing the benefits and want to continue to be involved with that because it's a great investment vehicle, and it's something that has the ability to change your life.
Thank you both. Appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, and the rest of you out there, remember this. Candida, Matt, myself, none of it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.
The information and opinions you hear on the Del Walmsley Radio Show are those of the host, Del Walmsley, his guests, and his callers. The Del Walmsley Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Del Walmsley Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.